Oh, cool.
I really appreciate it. Um, I am Britt Elders. I'm an author and I'm an investigator. Is that better? I need to talk right into it. Yeah. Okay. Let's try it again. Anyway, I want to share some information with you about an investigation that I was privileged to be a part of. and that is about the Edward Billy Meyer case. But in order to do that, I have to take you backwards in time. So you're going back to the mid-70s, when the world was totally analog. We didn't have digital anything. Telephones were still rotary dial. And it was a different world. We didn't have home computers. We didn't have phones that took great images. We didn't have Photoshop. We couldn't create images back then without a massive studio. At that time, my husband, Lee, and I had a company called Intercept, and it was designed to protect Fortune 500s and financial institutions, banks, from being eavesdropped on and wiretapped. So we had a great reputation internationally. We traveled the world, we worked for major corporations. And then a friend of ours changed our life. Lieutenant Colonel Wendell C. Stevens came to us and said, I've got a UFO case I want you guys to put your investigative company behind. We weren't about to turn over all of our information and just say, no, we're not talking to bankers that are chasing UFOs. Back in the 70s, this was a taboo term. You did not say UFO out loud. You got in the closet and you whispered it to your best friend, but that was it. You didn't discuss it in public. So we said no, but Wendell made the decision to go to Switzerland himself. And he met with Billy Meyer. Let's see if this is going to work. It's not. So what he just did didn't work.
I guess we still need to whisper about it.
Yeah, you want to get the audio video guy? Oh, she just got it. I'm gonna try it again, it's just gonna make noise. Okay. Anyway, I'll keep talking and we'll catch up with the pictures later. Billy Meyer was the man that Wendell went to meet with. And when Wendell came back from spending just a few days with Meyer, he came up to our house and he said, you absolutely have to get involved with this case, which we couldn't understand. What would be so phenomenal about some pretty pictures that were probably fake, which is what our position was. And he says there's so much more there. We had a client in London at the time, so we decided to finish that work and then go to Switzerland. And we thought we could probably debunk Billy Meyer in a matter of hours and head home that night. That didn't happen. We were there for 5 days. And it was mind-blowing because Billy gave us audio recordings.
Can you speak a little louder, please?
Is that better?
Yes.
Thank you. I hate having this thing in my mouth. Anyway, he gave us audio recordings. He gave us movie footage, inner negatives, photographs, and we had dozens of witnesses that we talked to about this case. It was unlike anything that anybody had ever encountered. There had been Betty and Barney Hill. Travis Walton happened in '76. There were different abduction type cases, but nothing that was a contact case like Meyer's, and nothing that presented physical documentation. Now, about this time, I would be showing you great physical documentation. But things don't always happen the way they're supposed to, but they always end up the way they're supposed to be. So, I'll just keep telling you about what we did. We brought all of this physical evidence back to Phoenix. And it was interesting because Billy only said one thing to us when he gave it to us and said, take it back. He said, talk to your scientists. Let them look at it, let them analyze it, then come tell me what they said. He didn't want any money, he didn't want anything except for science to take a look at his evidence. So we said, okay. Then we had to come figure out what scientists do you start with. 1975, you got photographs, inner negatives, movie footage, audio recordings, and oh my gosh, you have metal samples. Where do you go to begin an investigation? That's a tough one, but we got lucky. We had an associate that I lovingly call my leftover Atlantean scientist. He's one of those brains that can talk to anybody about just anything, any topic that has a scientific twist. They get him, he gets them, and he translates beautifully. So we asked Jim De La Tosa to find people that he knew could really affect our investigation and put it into play. The first person he came up with was Dr. Michael Malin at U of A, University of Arizona. This guy has a reputation and a half for doing serious work on photographs, not UFOs. He wasn't really interested in looking at UFOs, but he agreed to digitize the images. And when he did digitize the images, what we saw was remarkable. There were no strings suspending this object. You could take the pixels and count how big each flange of the craft was. You could compare it to a tree that was maybe 20 feet away from the craft. Now, we knew where the photograph was taken. We knew the distance from the camera to the tree. And now we know the distance from the tree to the object, the beam shift, as Meyer called it. Now we had a point to triangulate. We found out these models, or what we thought might be models, were actually 21 feet in diameter. And when we digitized the image, there was no string, which you would see because the pixels would show up in a straight line. So we knew that that was something that was important. We kept working with photographs, not just having them digitized, we did thermograms of them. There is a great image in the book and in that presentation. Have at it. Come here and talk.
I know, I'm like.
So anyway, we kept working with various different scientists all around the world. It wasn't just U of A. We ended up at Scripps Institute, we ended up at labs in Japan, labs in Europe. You're digging too. We finally ended up at Jet Propulsion Laboratory in Pasadena. Now this surprises everybody because JPL doesn't do this kind of work. But we got in and spoke with Robert Post, the head of Jet Propulsion Laboratory's photo department. You know what he said? I don't know what these things are. I have no clue. But I know I can't duplicate it. Now, okay, so there's the photographs. And we decided we're not going to stop with that. We're going to keep having these images analyzed. Even though we've got the cream of the crop, the guy that knows everything about images saying he can't duplicate it. Oh, we got something up there. Oh, there he is. That's something that's just sort of a base point. We were going to keep going.
You got it ready for him.
Now, I'm going to, let's see if we can go fast forward. That's the Pleiades. I'm just going to take you through some of the images because I've got some video in here that I want you to see and hear. It's Billy Meyer explaining his experience and how it began. Those who, that's us, the investigators. Wendell and my husband Lee are no longer with us. Tom is still around. He's a very dear friend of mine. We talk all the time. And these are just some of the images that Billy took. Now, here we go. Now, how do you get video to play? I know. He said it would just be automatic, but maybe.
Yep, we're back.
Oh, yes.
Okay, we're gonna do it the hard way, guys, so make sure it's.
Mr. Meyer, when did the experiences begin? Contact began
Can't hear it?
from January
See it.
28, 1975 in How did it happen? What made you go outside into the forest? I got something like Early Lights voice
Okay, I'm gonna stop it because it's easier to talk and you guys
fully.
not miss the video. There you go. I don't know what's happening, but obviously it's not supposed to be. So anyway, Meyer had originally been sitting at his kitchen table. He got a very unusual feeling, and then he heard voices in his head tell him to go outside, get on his moped and drive into the forest, which is what he did. When he got there, he heard a sound unlike anything he had ever seen or heard. And then he saw the ship come down. And then from behind it, a lady came out, a tall blonde, in a silver outfit. And they went under a tree and sat and talked for about an hour and a quarter. And she introduced herself. She said she was Simyasa and she was from the Pleiades. And that's how it all began. From there, the Pleiadians said the reason they were here is they wanted people to realize we are not the only thinking beings on the planet, in the universe, in everything out there. They wanted us to realize we are a bigger part of creation, as they call it. Some people call it God, God force, whatever, but they termed creation and they said creation exists in all things. And this was part of the conversation that they were having with Meyer. It wasn't just about them sitting down and talking to a human whom they had studied for 10 years before they initiated the contact. But it was about letting humans know they were here. We're not alone. And it was about presenting physical evidence that would support his claims. So, I had gone through the photographs, gone through a little of the audio recordings. What happened with the audio recording that was so fascinating was we went to the naval facility in Groton, Connecticut, and worked with a man by the name of Rob Shulman. What he did was he took all of the sounds and put them into a sound bank. These are the Meyer audio recordings. Put them into a sound bank and compared them to all of the sounds the US Navy had in their sound bank. There was no comparison. He said there was nothing that matched that audio. So we had that, and then we decided, okay, nothing there. Let's go to Hollywood, because Hollywood could duplicate anything. So we did. And we spoke with Nils Ragnerud, whom I spoke to recently. He's doing very well living in the Philippines. And we talked to Steve Ambrose. Steve Ambrose was Stevie Wonder's audio engineer. And he was a brilliant audio engineer. The first thing these two guys did was put that sound up through an oscilloscope, watch the frequency changes, and then shake their head. Because they said, it's a single source sound,
If I had a room full of synthesizers, I couldn't duplicate it. And it expands and contracts, and expands and contracts. And they could not explain that as well. So then we had all of the interesting footage, the 8mm movie footage, that also needed to be looked at. We sent it to Japan originally, and we had different analysts take it from a university level as well as from a production level. We took it to Nippon Television in Japan. They could not find a splice in that footage. Yet, some of the footage I was going to show you up here, actually you can see cars passing underneath it. But Meyer told us that the Palladians explained to him that they have the ability to bend light, which prevents everybody from seeing the object, and they can just focus in and go, oh, that person can see you. Oh, that person can see, but not everyone. And it becomes very apparent when you see cars traveling underneath this 21-foot object that is riding the Earth's magnetic waves over a road in Switzerland. It's really quite fascinating. But then we decided, okay, we're going to do something really unusual because everybody was still saying, oh, look, UFOs are a model. What we did, we went out and we found a special effects man, the best special effects man of that time, Mr. Wally Gentleman. He was Canadian. He did the effects for Kubrick's 2001: A Space Odyssey. He worked with Coppola, Spielberg, and many others when they were just babies. This guy knew his stuff, and he was known for miniatures. So we said, okay, come build us a model. Everybody says it's a model. Let's see if it is. He built us a model that was maybe, I think it was 11 3/4 inches. We ended up hanging it. Everybody said it was on a fishing pole, so we hung it from a fishing pole on a monofilament line, took it to Switzerland, and filmed at the same locations Billy had taken pictures of. Then we came back and we decided, let's run it through the same analysis we did with Meyer's stuff. It was really bad. Big deal, everybody had it. This is a model. Well, it wasn't. And we did a documentary. And in that documentary, you see us with model. And you see us putting this out there so that people can understand. This investigation took 7 years. And it was, that's why I said it changed my life. We went from having a very successful, wonderful company to being totally focused on UFOs. But I will tell you this, it was well worth it. Whenever you get into a subject like this, whether it's UFOs, whether it's some form of spirituality, it doesn't matter. Once you put your toe in the water, you are in. And 45 years later, I'm still in to you. There's always a question, there's always something to learn, there's always something to share. And I truly believe the more we share with each other, the more we learn from each other, the faster we can take our place, our real place in our universal brotherhood out there. Now, a lot of people ask me about the medal, because the medal was one of the most unique aspects of evidence. The medal literally blew all of us away. We worked with Dr. Marcel Vogel, who was the chief research scientist at IBM Labs. He held 32 patents, brilliant man, really great guy. He brought in 42 other scientists to help him look at a piece of metal that was smaller than my little fingernail. But we went to Marcel Vogel because he had a scanning electron microscope. They were impossible to find back then. And you really had to have clout and a whole lot of money to get to a scanning electron microscope. But Marcel had one, he agreed to work with us. He and his 42 scientists looked at the metal and were blown away because it was a cold fusion process. It was metal, and crystal. Not melted together like we have to do even today, but a cold fusion process where it was pure between each metal and crystal. Also, and this is really important, it had thulium in it. Thulium is a rare earth element, very costly to extract, very difficult to find. How would a farmer with a 5th grade
The houses
education
go out. Then I was far upstairs.
We'll try it again.
Yeah, that's fun. Maybe we're supposed to use this part now.
How would he know where to get thulium? How would he know? And how could he possibly, when science couldn't do it, create a cold fusion piece of metal? Really amazing things went on in that case. And it's something that, it did change my life. It made me open my eyes, made me stop and think on a greater level, not just, that little thought you have, oh, this could be interesting. No. Now I want to know what it is, and I want to learn as much as I possibly can about it, because it is invaluable to each of us to learn and to explore what all of this can be for us. It's not just about the physical evidence when it comes to the Meyer case either. It's also about the things that Sannyasa told him. She gave him beautiful words of wisdom. The biggest, I really do believe, and the one he said was most important at the time, was to get us to realize we are not the only thinking beings on the planet. That was one. There was another one that said, they are not perfect either. She said, we too are still far removed from perfection and have to evolve like yourselves. That's what we're all doing. We're all changing. The biggest reason they wanted us to realize that is because the Pleiadians did not originate in the Pleiades. They originated on Lyra, in a planet in Lyra. And they had a very divided planet, very divided like we are, in so many ways. There was anger, there was frustration. They ended up destroying their planet. The difference was this: they could go into space, find a planet that they could engineer, literally create the atmosphere and the environment they needed. We can't do that. We're stuck here for the moment, despite what anybody like Elon Musk thinks. It's going to take some time to get us off this planet. And that's great. But right now we have to learn to live together. And that's where the words of the Pleiadians come in and are so valuable. They tell us we need to recognize creation in all things. In each other, in self, we need to have respect for each other. We need to have respect for self. here in this great group of people that are attending this. We are at that space. But we need to sort of help push it along so we all respond to that, and you do it by changing yourself. So one of the things that Semyosa told Billy, and I think is very valuable for everybody, and I kind of hope you take it with you, is that luck and beauty and truth are self-created. They come from within, and they're always there for you. You just have to realize it. So, thank you very much. I wanted to let you know a couple of things. The book and the video are available through Beyond Words booth. It's at bookstores, it's at Amazon there. You can stream it by going to Vimeo or to Beyond Words. What else was it? Oh, I don't do these speaking things very often, and now you know why. Because I am going to be at the Ozark Mountain Conference in April. I will be at the McMinimus Conference in Oregon in May, and in the end of May, I will be with my friend Paula Harris doing a one-on-one press time for. So if you want to follow anything I'm doing, check out my website, BritElders.com. And then I want to turn it over for questions. If anybody has any, I'd love to. Go ahead.
How did he get the piece, the metal piece?
How did he get it?
Yeah.
The Palladians gave him all of this. They literally posed their ships so that he could take the photographs. They gave him the metal samples, and they explained they came from the skin of the craft. It's a process that goes through many different phases, and this was just one of the phases. Yeah. Yes.
Is he still alive?
He is. I just spoke to him the other day and wished him a happy birthday. He's 82 years old. Yeah. 88. Oh, you're right, 88. Why am I saying 82? Yeah. But his birthday was April 3, and he's doing pretty well. I don't want to go backwards in time. That's all that is. Okay. Anybody else?
Where's that piece of metal now?
In a bank vault? By the way, everybody always asks me this, and I'm gonna beat you to the punch. No, we did not have any problems from the government. In fact, we worked at government laboratories. We were really fortunate that we had the contacts that would allow us in there, that Jim had contacts that would allow us in there. We were at Boeing Labs. We were at the Naval Facility in Grove, Connecticut. We did some work in Houston at NASA. So we have, U of A, that was contracted through NASA. So we did a lot of different things. USGS, we worked with them. We made one deal, and the deal was this. We don't care what you learn from this, because we hope you do. But we want to know everything you find. And we never left the material alone with it. It was always one of us with it. Yes?
After you had the 1 hour conversation with the alien dressed in white, did
Uh-huh.
you see her go back? What did it look like afterwards?
Yeah, she went back to the craft, got back on board, and sometimes they would appear. Sometimes they would bring the ship, pick him up. There were many different ways that they had contact with him. The contacts are still going on. Still physical, still telepathic as well, but still happening.
So if they're still physical, has he been able to document any of that?
He has not, no, this was rather interesting. During about a 4-year period of time, 5-year period of time, Meyer was given a lot of physical evidence. And he kept saying, can I get more? Can I get more? He's human. And we are too, we want more. And they finally said, how much more do you need? He has hundreds and hundreds of photographs stacked in albums and albums and albums. He's got movie footage, he's got metal, he's got audio recordings, and he's got hundreds of witnesses. He's right. How much do you need? Yes, ma'am.
I'm just wondering, was it multiple ships that he saw, or was it the same one each time?
No, he had seen multiple ships over a period of time. The first ship they had to take out of service, it actually had a radiation leak. And they were unaware of how that radiation would affect us. Okay? And it was beautiful. That was a really super sleek race car looking version. Yeah. But then they started bringing in other versions, and each version had a different travel capability, a different dimensional capability. Some were remote and some were piloted. Yeah. Yes.
Was your investigation folded into the recent government exploration of UFOs, or I forget what the other acronym is?
I think it's great that the government does what it's doing. I don't think we need the government to tell us it's real or it isn't real, whatever these are that they're looking at. But I do appreciate what they're doing. I just wish they'd do it faster. Yes, ma'am.
Has he ever taken any pictures with her or?
Not with Samyasa. And Samyasa said the reason that they did not take pictures together was because she actually walks the street. That kind of sounded weird. She walks among us. Okay. Yes, sir. What is he currently working on?
It's not for like.
Too late, like this. But
Oh, no.
Go ahead, play with it.
Okay.
At least see the photos.
On the PowerPoint. I am currently working on a book about Mexico and the events that we experienced down there, working with Anya and myself. I'm working on a book that sort of goes into more detail as to what happened. So that we can see through the slides.
How can it move forward?
And the video.
Well, the video's complicated.
Yeah.
Going backwards.
I'm going backwards.
No, but it's going forward.
The video
And there were many experiences together. The constant becomes on February 28, 1975 in England. How did it happen? What made you go outside in the forest? I got something like a very nice voice in my head. I heard something to leave the house, to go out, and to take a photo camera with me. So I left my house, and then when I was far outside from the village, I heard a singing noise in the sky. And when I was looking up there, I have seen a disc. This disc was flying over the clouds, and then it came to the point where I was staying with my motorcycle. Then slowly, it came lower and lower and settled down between the white trees and the forest there behind.
Okay, so that's really
After the
explaining
first
the first one. Now what I want to do is
You see,
let you hear what they told him.
she told me I shall get the most best pictures of UFOs what's ever happened on Earth. The second thing, I shall go out to tell the truth to the human on Earth, why they are coming here, what reason they have, that they are coming to Earth not to harm us, not to make war, not to bring peace.
Okay, so I'm just going to run through the pictures. I think we're good to go now. This is Herbert Runkle. He is a witness from Germany. He witnessed many different aspects of the Meyer contacts. He's an engineer. He drove in every weekend to hear what Meyer had to say and to see the ships. This is a painting, a watercolor done by Atlantis Meyer, Billy's middle son. When he was quite young, the whole family was very willing and open to discussing what they had seen and what it meant to them. This is at Hassenbowl, which is one of the coldest, windiest places on this planet. You get up there and you want to just find something warm. This is a place Billy took many, many photographs, including this, which is a series of pictures with his moped in the front and trees all around in the background and this beautiful snow-covered mountain in the background as well. This we call the log pile scene. It's one of the most beautiful pictures that he took. And it's great because we knew how big those logs were. So we could determine how big the craft was and how far away it was from the camera and from the tree line. This is the chimney scene. It's literally a place where they burn debris and things like that out in the middle of the forest. And this object, the beam ship, crossed across that whole little valley there, and there's 3 shots of it taken as it crosses in front of that chimney scene. This is the quote I was telling you about from Jim De La Tosa, who helped us put together such an incredible scientific team. Now, here's some of the science and the images that went into it. This just is a thermogram that shows the heat as it came around the craft. And it's based on this photograph that has a jet fighter, Mirage jet fighter, in the same scene as a beam ship. That's pretty rare and pretty incredible. And here is the Mirage jet fighter when it was run through that same digitization process, and shows the thermogram of the heat surrounding it as well as the craft. This is again in Hassenbowl. I think it's a beautiful shot. And there's Robert Post's quote from JPL. Oops, there we go. This is the tree line scene. It's a beautiful scene because it allowed us to triangulate. We knew exactly where the camera was when Billy shot this photograph. We knew how far away that tree was. And therefore we could determine the size of the craft and where it was. Now, this is Steve Ambrose, the man I told you about that did the analysis on the audio. And just more pictures, but here is the metal. Oh, the metal's gonna disappear. There it is. Okay, this is the little piece of metal that I was telling you about that was so, so important because it was a cold fusion process and because it did have thulium in it. None of the 42 scientists that worked on this could determine where it could have been made on this planet. And this is Marcel Vogel's quote. I cannot explain the metal sample by any known combination of materials. I could not put it together myself as a scientist. With any technology that I know of, we could not achieve this on this planet. That's really important because that's 42 scientists putting their names to such a strong statement. Now, you're still very good. Let's see if this will work. Yes, it does. Okay, I want you to pay attention to that 06. This is the segment of footage I was telling you about where the craft is out there over a road, and you will see cars traveling beneath the road. beneath the craft on the road. It's gotta run a minute or two, not that long. Yeah. It's pretty rare.
Down the bottom.
Yeah. Right here's the. There's another one. Mhm.
So not everybody sees it, right? Only certain people can see it.
That's what, the Palladians said they had the capability of bending light. So that some people could see it, some people couldn't. And they did that with Billy by blinking the ship out every now and then blinking it right back in frame. And that happens many times in the movie footage that he has. Okay, this is a quote from Wally Gentleman, the man I told you that we had to make the model for us. Yeah, this is a very, very important thing because everybody did think this was a model. And now just ending on some beautiful photographs and quotes from Sannyasa.
Could you read them?
Oh, sure. We are neither superior nor superhuman, nor are we missionaries. We feel duty-bound to the citizens of Earth because our forefathers were your forefathers. The Palladians said that they, as well as other groups from out in space, had seeded our planet. Sannyasa also said, we too are still far removed from perfection and have to evolve constantly, just like yourselves. That's something we all need to keep in mind. We're always changing. We're always developing. We just need to be open to it. This is one of my favorite shots because there is a branch that crosses in front of that craft. And this one is the same way. And here's that thought that I would love for you guys to take with you. When a being is happy, luck appears everywhere in his life because luck is self-created. It comes from within the individual. Everybody, I want to thank you for being here. And it was sort of a weird presentation because we've been all over the place many different times, but I hope you got something out of it, and I hope you have a wonderful weekend.
Thank you.